Hi, I'm Brianna, and in addition to being an author, I'm also a massive Disney fan. I especially love sailing with Disney Cruise Line. My family and I first sailed with DCL back in 2019, and at the time, resources about sailing as a concierge guest were pretty limited. If you're anything like me, you like knowing what to expect and deciding if concierge is worth the price. So I made this series to help you better understand what's included with concierge so you can make an informed decision about whether or not concierge is right for you. Let's get started. Sadly, the day will come when your cruise ends and even concierge guests must leave the ship. However, disembarkation can look a little bit different for concierge guests. Like all guests, concierge guests will receive a letter from their stateroom host on the final night of the cruise. This document outlines the disembarkation process, including breakfast, customs, alcohol pickup, and more. Now, on disembarkation day, all guests have the option of eating breakfast at cabanas or eating in one of the main dining rooms. Breakfast will be in the last restaurant of your dinner rotation. So if your last dinner was at Tiana's, then your breakfast will be at Tiana's. And your assigned breakfast time will depend on your assigned dinner time. So if you have the early dinner time, you will have the first breakfast slot. And if you have the later dinner time, you will have the second breakfast slot. Typically, breakfast times are around 7 a.m. and 8 a.m. Your specific breakfast time can be found on the Disney Cruise Line Navigator app or the paper letter provided by your stateroom host. Keep in mind that if you eat breakfast at the restaurant or at cabanas, you must bring your carry on bags with you as you will be escorted off the ship following breakfast. If that sounds stressful, not to worry. Concierge guests have two additional breakfast options. A, they can eat breakfast in the concierge lounge. Remember, the lounge is where the good coffee machine is. The concierge lounge will open at 7 a.m. on disembarkation day. Or B, concierge guests can order room service. For all other guests, room service breakfast is not available on disembarkation day, but it is available for concierge guests. What works best for your sailing party will depend on what time you need to leave the ship, but it's a great perk to have two more options, including eating in your stateroom before you disembark. When it's time to leave the ship, guests can choose express walk off or the traditional disembarkation process. If you choose the express walk off option, you will not put your checked bags out the night before. Let me explain. On the final night of your sailing, you will need to place all checked bags outside of your stateroom no later than 10 p.m. to have them picked up. They will be taken off the ship once you arrive in port and be ready for you to retrieve once you exit the ship. However, for those guests who do express walk off, they will keep their bags inside their staterooms, and when they leave the ship, they will walk off with all their luggage, carry ons, and checked bags. Express walk off is generally at 7:30 a.m. Non-concierge guests will start to queue, usually in the ship's atrium, prior to that time. Honestly, it can get a bit chaotic. This is where another perk comes in for concierge guests. Instead of queuing with everyone else, you will go to the concierge lounge. And once the ship is cleared by customs and express walk off can commence, a concierge host will escort you to the express walk off location. And then two very nice things will happen. First, they will use a special card to bypass the elevator so it will not stop for additional guests on the way down. Second, they will take you to the front of the line to be checked off the ship. This means you don't have to wait down in the hustle and bustle with everyone else who is taking advantage of Express Walk Off. And you get to jump to the front of the line when you do get down to Express Walk Off. A couple of things to keep in mind about the Express Walk Off option. Again, it's usually around 7:30 a.m. This means that if you want to eat in the restaurant and you have that later dining time, say 8 a.m., you wouldn't be able to take advantage of that restaurant breakfast. You would need to eat either at Cabanas or the lounge or even do the room service that I mentioned earlier. Something else to keep in mind about the express walk-off option is, again, you have to take all of your luggage with you, both your checked bags and your carry-ons. The lounges, while many of them have been renovated and are much larger than they were several years ago, are still fairly small, and that can make for a very tight space. In some cases, you may be asked to leave your checked bags in a hallway or just outside of the lounge doors, or you're going to bring it all in there with you, along with several other people who may be taking advantage of express walk off. And again, the lounge can get very tight. If the express walk off option isn't for you, you can always do the traditional disembarkation option. This option would allow you a little bit of breathing space, time to linger of a morning, so that you could go to the restaurant at your assigned time for breakfast, or to Cabanas and enjoy the buffet, enjoy room service, or even enjoy the continental breakfast or hot made to order breakfast on the Wish class ships in the concierge lounges. With the traditional disembarkation option, you will be assigned character luggage tags for your checked bags. So these are going to be provided to you by your stateroom host on the final night of your cruise, in addition to that letter I mentioned earlier that outlines the disembarkation process. Once your bags are packed, you're going to attach that luggage tag to each bag and then set the bags outside of your stateroom no later than 10 p.m. Your bags will then be retrieved by a crew member and you won't see them again until after you leave the ship. From here, things get a little bit different when it comes to concierge guests. So, for most guests, they will be required to wait for their character's name to be called. It's sort of like waiting for a boarding group on embarkation day, but instead it's the character that matches your luggage tag. Once that character is called, all guests in that group can join the queue to be checked off the ship. So, for example, if you are in the Princess Ariel group, your luggage tags will have an image of Princess Ariel on them. And then when over the PA system, the Princess Ariel group is announced, anybody who had those luggage tags and is part of that group will then join the queue to get checked off the ship and go and retrieve their bags. For concierge guests, however, you do not have to wait for your group to be called. Instead, you will go to the concierge lounge and a concierge host will escort you off the ship at any time. Well, you do still need to be off the ship by 9 a.m., but the point is that you don't have to wait around if you don't want to. So whenever you're ready, you simply notify a concierge host and they will use their special card to call the elevator and keep it from picking up other guests on your way down. They will also help you jump to the front of the line to be checked off of the ship. Once you are off the ship, you will collect your checked bags inside the port terminal. Luggage for concierge guests will be held at the front of the line, making it much easier to locate and access. another perk of sailing concierge. There you have it, friends. An overview of disembarkation as a concierge guest with Disney Cruise Line. Hopefully, this gives you a better understanding of some of the perks of sailing concierge. See you in the next video.